Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Skeptic Haven show, coming to you from Africa today. So we've got an African interest in our programming. We wanted to introduce you to, let me see if we can get Denis is having a little bit of a connection issue at the moment where he is in Zambia. But joining me today from is a friend of our channel, Kato Mukasa. Welcome to our program. And there we have Denis at the bottom as well. The issue that we want to talk about today on Skeptic Haven is this this idea of LGBTQ rights in Africa. And before we get launch into the discussion, I just want to ask our producer to put that graphic of the map up so that we can actually see what the current state of LGBTQ rights is on the world map, and specifically in the continent of Africa. So wherever you see green on this map, there is legal recognition. There's no problem with LGBTQ rights. But if you focus specifically on the continent of Africa, you'll notice that the discrimination and the prejudice starts very, very far south of the equator. You know, like it starts here in Namibia and in Zimbabwe, where they they don't have a problem with the lesbian experience, but when it comes to the homosexual experience, with men, it's an issue. And then it just gets progressively worse the farther north you go. Granted, in West Africa, there's been great strides. Great strides have been taken in West Africa, especially in countries, as you can see from that green spot over there. But where the powers of God are strong, the discrimination as well is very strong, as you can see from the northern area of Africa, the Middle East, and then even there towards Asia as well. There is also a lot of discrimination going on. So I first got onto this topic when I encountered Denis's story online, and Denis has written a book called Between the Cross and the Rainbow, where he details his story and his experience, with this issue of being, and I'm not sure exactly, it was in Uganda originally, and Denis is exiled at the moment in Zambia, I believe. Kato, am I right?
Yes, Denis is in exile. Denis, can you hear us? Maybe you can give it a go. Denis, please. Anyway, since
there we go.
Yeah, I can see
Denis.
Yeah, I can hear.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Nice.
Hello everyone. Denis Nkyanungi, Ugandan, proudly gay man, and for now I'm Zambia as an affiliate.
Yeah, as I said to you earlier, we've got a very choppy connection with Denis where he is at the moment. So, what I was very interested in when I did some research for this. Sorry, I just want to refer to my notes quickly while I am here. Is and correct me if I'm wrong. This whole prejudice against LGBTQ individuals, this, in my opinion, is a Western import. It's not something that is unique to African culture and African tradition, because even here in our local cultures, we have got specific gender roles for people who are not of the standard heterosexual identity. But I don't know if you have any insight into this, because, unfortunately, this is an era of African tradition that was communicated orally. So it's not very well documented, and there's not a lot of history and context that we can refer to. But this prejudice is a uniquely Islamic and Christian import onto the continent of Africa. I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on any of that.
Thank you so much, comrade brother Dean. You're doing a good job with your colleague here. Thank you so much. I love the channel. I keep on checking, and please continue giving us this light, especially us Africans. Dean's an African, all of us Africans, and we enjoy sharing these moments with the world. Thank you so much, Dean, and the colleagues at Scape 7. Thank you for having me. For the viewers, those watching me for the first time, my name is Kato Mukasa. Most importantly, I'm a humanist, but most importantly, I'm an atheist. And so I have no illusions of gods and miracles and all this kind of stuff. And also, what is important, I'm also a human rights defender. One of the things that have put me so much into trouble with people that don't want to tolerate. And one of my areas of defense has been the LGBT people in my country, but also in Africa. Because as I speak right now, I'm having a team of victims of witch hunt, not only in Uganda, but across Africa, that I give advice, that I give some bit of counseling, legal advice, connect them to organizations, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give a brief of what you have said about the hate of homosexuality. I'm happy this is the second time I think I'm speaking this here, but I'm going to elaborate more. Historically, what's so known, but some people want to sit on it, is the fact that homosexuals existed in Africa since time immemorial. We have had relatives who have been homosexuals for as long as humanity has lived. And in each society in Africa, if you read, each society in Africa has a name, a local name, to mean homosexual. Now, if something is important, because the first argument was when I began defending homosexuals in 2007. I began defending homosexuals in 2007 publicly in Uganda. Now, when I began defending them, the first argument was because I was working with an NGO, which was also international. They were saying they are paying me to promote homosexuality. So my argument was that the English, the Americans, whatever I was working with, the Norwegians, were not promoting homosexuality. They were simply helping people to speak out.
Yeah.
Because homosexuals have been with us, part of us, our relatives, our brothers, for as long as we have lived. And as I've just said, that when you look at our culture, our setup, the name homosexuality in each tribe in Africa has a meaning. Now, if something is important, there's no way it can have a history that is so rich that we know that when you go to Ghana, they will tell you a local name of that, and it has a history. Now, when I was writing the book, my first book is this one, Understanding the Myth About Homosexuality. This book came out in 2013. And the law against homosexuality was passed in 2014 in Uganda. So my book took me 2 years to write, but I was against the law that was being written. It was a bill by that time. And this book, I used it to take it to Parliament and lobby NGOs, lobby embassies where we are taking copies for free. I'm happy to say that at that time, the Norwegians had sponsored the printing of the book. So my work was to research. I did interview hundreds of homosexuals because I was working with their NGOs in Uganda. I was working with their umbrella called Farug and SMAG, Sexual Minorities Uganda, Freedom of Forum Uganda. I was working with them. They elected as their trainer and all that. So I interviewed them and I made this book. Then I also used the law at the time to say this law was unfair. And that time, I was finishing my law degree. So my dissertation was on this book, was on the law against homosexuality. And I should tell you, Dean, that before even my dissertation was had, my supervisor was bitter that I was promoting homosexuality. And she had to fire herself because I complained that this woman is not. How do you tell me what dissertation to base on? Me, I want to write a law that is coming, which is wrong. I want to challenge it. So my dissertation was on anti-homosexuality bill. And before it came a law, already I was out of law school anyway. Now, this book was the first one. This is my second book on homosexuality. It is called Some People Are Gay.
Yeah.
Some People Are Gay. Get Over It. A tale of how dictatorships weaponized homosexuality and strategies to end homophobia in Africa.
Yeah.
It is talking about how dictators in Africa have weaponized homosexuality and why we must end this witch hunt. Now, in these two books, why I brought them here, in these two books, I give the history of homosexuality in Africa, but also as part of humanity. And I dispel the myth that the white man, as they like to call them, brought homosexuality to Africa. That is a lie. What the white man brought was hate. What the white man brought was homophobia. It was not homosexuality, it was there. That's why when you go to South Africa and you go among the Zulu, among the Zande, you will hear the terms. They are there. They were the so-called boy woman. The people like Shaka Zulu could go with boy wives. Generals going to war with boy wives. Women that were kings or queens having married fellow women. This is history in Africa, pre-colonialism. Before the Europeans came to Africa, Africans were already homosexuals. And interestingly, the history shows that they were living peacefully. There was no mission. There was no killing. Some societies, like in Uganda, they would look at you and say, that one is a lost cause. They ignore you, and then maybe they don't associate with you so much, but they don't kill you. They simply ignore you. They think something's wrong with you, yes, but they don't come and arrest you or kill you or whatever. The hate was brought by, for the sake of Uganda, it was the British colonizers who brought the hate in 1950s. 1950s, our laws begin to take a written format, and then they import from India, where the act was, because the British also were in India, took their acts there, then they copy and paste whatever had been put there and then bring to Uganda. So homosexuality was there, but people were coexisting. Then when these guys come, they are too Christian, they bring a new law that says God doesn't allow this, therefore we are not going to allow it too. So homophobia in brief is an import, but homosexuality is part of us. Now in 2014, as I've just said, the first law against homosexuals, which was so clear and bad, was passed. Because the laws were there, but they were weak. Like they could say, you may be imprisoned, say, for 2 years, initially before 2014. Now 2014, because of politics, because of pastors from America, I document a story of a pastor from America in this book who came to Uganda, went to State House, and met with the president, the first lady, and their daughter. They are pastors, you know. And we have thieves who call themselves pastors. Now, this man, Steve Langley, goes to State House in Entebbe in Uganda and convinces the first lady, look, your country is suffering because of homosexuals. Are you sponsoring them? Ask the Americans. Our government is sponsoring homosexuality because they want to reduced population in Africa because they want to take your land. It was like blackmail to get whatever he wanted. The man who himself is an American came to Uganda speaking bad about his government and telling Ugandans that it was his government promoting homosexuality in Uganda. Now, because of his talk, Parliament listened to him, President listened to him, and they took him seriously. And the religious leaders jumped ship. So everyone was supporting what the American pastor was speaking as gospel truth. So in the bill came into a law. The president passed it into law, and then we had to go to court. By August 2014, the law was quashed.
Yeah.
That is history in the making. The law was quashed. Now, the bad law was removed,
Yeah.
but the hate had remained.
Yeah.
Now, recently, in March 2023, they go back to Parliament, and then they draft another draconian law, which I've always called the Kill the Gay law. It was a bill, first of all.
It was in the news as well. Yeah, it made big news.
Yeah. In May, the president signed and it became law. Yeah. Now, we have a law that, first of all, have made people like Denis to run away from Uganda.
Yeah.
Today, Dean, I can tell you, I have Ugandans we are supporting with a colleague, I want to mention here, and to give a bit of help, who are in Sudan, who are in Kenya, who are in Zambia. It's too hard. This is not a charity. These are just individuals saying he lacks what to eat, maybe we can manage. But also it reaches a point when we cannot manage at all. That the numbers of people running away from Uganda alone, going to exile because of homosexuality are so many. Why? Because people like Denis were almost being killed in Uganda. When the law was passed in 2023, schools began chasing homosexuals or suspected homosexuals. Doctors were told, once you treat a homosexual, you will be imprisoned. Now, hospitals began discriminating homosexuals, schools, markets, whatever, public places. It was hard. Some people lost jobs for mere rumors. NGOs, as I speak here today, Dean, NGOs, including my NGO, were witch-hunted and closed. Over 50 NGOs, including my own NGO, were witch-hunted and closed because our crime was promoting homosexuality. Yeah. Yet, basically, we are talking about the rights of everyone, including gay people. Yeah. Now, the bill was so bad, the law was so bad, we had to go to court, and that was again August 2023. The law was the court agreed with us and dropped a few things in the law, say rent, because initially the law was saying that even a landlord must not accept a homosexual. Now, someone will say Dean is homosexual. Someone will go and say Dean is homosexual without any evidence whatsoever. Yeah. And the landlord will simply write and say, Dean, leave my house tomorrow. Because the law says if you still stay in that house, the landlord is going to be affected and will have to pay heavily with imprisonment. For example, TV stations were warned, radio stations, media and brief, were warned never to give any forum, any platform to a lawyer, to a gay advocate, or to a gay person, a platform to talk about gay rights. Yeah. No TV can host you, no radio can host you, no newspaper can give you a platform in Uganda, because if they do that, the law says cancel their license.
Yeah, because you are seen as promoting homosexuality.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's fucked up.
So that's the thing. So I'm trying to be very brief here, but then it is big. Now, when we went to court, 2023, when the law was out, what was dropped was only the rent issue and the medical issue. They said, no, it's the right to go and get medication. It's the right to have where to stay. But the other areas were untouched. No media can give you coverage. No person can give you a job. And anyone can basically come and beat you because you are the evil person. You are the cause of poverty. You are the cause of lack of rain and all the nonsense. Now, the spillover has been so big that many refugees are all over East Africa. If you can manage, go outside Africa, but those are very few. Denis I can tell you, if you can, that in Zambia, there are over 100 Ugandans who are running away. In Zambia, where he is. And Denis today has no food, has no rent. It has been a struggle taking care of him. He may speak when he gets the network working. But Denis has suffered a lot. We have tried to help Dean, but we have reached a point when we cannot help much because Denis has to rent where he is. Why? He was in a camp, and then being a leader of homosexuals, someone flamed him in, there was a Congolese who flamed him, a team of Congolese flamed him, and then they witch hunted him, burnt his hut where he was sleeping, almost killed him, and then they flamed him for fighting him, and he was imprisoned for 7 months. I speak this because I've been following him ever since he went to Zambia, and the bad thing, the network is done, so I'm going to help to cover a bit of what he would have told you. Now, Denis was in prison for 7 months, and getting a lawyer in Zambia was hard. Getting him food was hard. While in prison, he mentally broke down. We had to fight so hard to get him out. Today, when he went out, the government of Zambia, even UNHCR refused to admit him back to the camp. Why? They are saying that when he goes there will be trouble, there will be a fight. People are going to die. So today, Denis has to rent, has to feed himself, has to get medication. He has psychological problems. He came out with wounds, but he has no income.
Yeah.
So
I think this is also, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is also the case with when people seek asylum in another country, I don't think they can work. They're not allowed to work for a certain period of time. Because they don't have legal status in that country where they're seeking asylum. So they're completely dependent. They're completely dependent on the goodwill of the few people like yourself who are involved in their cases. And again, like at this stage, this is also just where I would like to highlight that if you want to support this cause, please linked in the down below here, you'll see that there is Denis has written a book detailing his whole ordeal. It really is a gripping read. So if you want to support the cause, we're not asking for a handout, we're asking for a hand up. Please go buy the book. Gumroad will give you a fair, equitable price in your local currency. So that's the one way that you can support. If you know of any other resources available that can help refugees like Denis who are being persecuted just for the fact of who they love, please feel free to reach out to the channel, and we can connect you with with Kato if you have access to any resources or anything that can help refugees like Denis. But I digress. I'm sorry to have interrupted you, Kato.
Go ahead, please.
I also just want you to to tell us a little bit about the history, cover a bit of the history of Denis's case specifically, and how you first got wind of it, and how you got involved with Denis's case in particular.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dean. Denis, when I was in Uganda working with gay people, he got to know about my organization. Remember, as I told you, I've been working with them since 2007, quite a number of years. So I've been working with these people. So Denis knew my organization right were in Uganda, and there were members like gay teams. I used to go to give trainings, advocacy strategies, to groups of good people. So that's why I got to know Denis and other friends. So when they went to exile, I already knew a few of them. So they simply looked for me to continue giving some bit of help. Now, what happened is that when Denis went to Zambia, he was with others in a camp, but he was the leader of those gay Ugandans in that camp. And we have our YouTube channel, which you know, the Humans TV Africa. We had given Denis a platform to always air out his views with his colleagues. If you check that platform, you see so many interviews that Denis have done. Now, because of those interviews, and he was doing them in Zambia. By the way, Dean, Zambia is very homophobic. Zambia is worse. Is homophobic, from the president to the politicians, including people working in camps. Sadly, Denis cannot talk because of network, but good thing I've been following him, I can cover a bit of what he maybe would have explained. Now, what happened that when Denis was going live on Humans TV Africa, people were taking notes. Now they began attacking him in the camp. So I told him, Denis, stop appearing on this channel because it's causing you trouble. But the damage was already made. Now, the people within the camp, you can imagine fellow refugees, but not homosexuals, began attacking a group of the homosexuals in the camp. So it was us against them. Now, Denis was already the leader who's known as a gay man, had been earmarked. They began attacking him, and one night, his hut was burnt. Now, in that hut, the neighbor was an old man, I think from Burundi. The fire from Denis's hut went and burnt the next hut, and the man died in that hut. You know, those grass-thatched huts in camps. So a person lost his life in that hunt. And Denis, the next morning, the group of the witch hunters were against him, saying he had burnt the hut. Yet his own hut had been burnt.
Also burnt. Now,
they came, beat him up, and took him to police. Almost killed him in that camp. Now, that's how he ended up spending 7 months in prison. So I had to look for lawyers, coordinating the stuff because I'm not in Zambia. It's quite hard. So we took 7 months to get him out. Meanwhile, he was on a murder case. Witch hunt had begun. The person who was a victim, again running away from trouble in Uganda, had become another victim in Zambia.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So when you got him out, UNHCR refused to admit him back in the camp. Now you can imagine, Dean, you are not allowed to work. You don't have anyone. Denis has no relative who has money. He has a mother who is sick and old. He's alone. Yeah. Now, Denis resorted back to me. I talked with a friend to try to help, but it was also hard. We tried to help. We have been helping Denis, giving him rent, food. He was so sick, medication, and it has been really hard. Now, what I did was to ask Denis, what can you do to offer to the world to have a basis to give you something?
Yeah.
So Denis said, I can write a book.
Yeah.
So this is how I encouraged him to write a book. And there was a training which I organized for authors. He joined it. It sharpened him and wrote a very nice book about his life and his current situation. And because Denis has no account, because he's a refugee, has no bank account, I had to use my own account and my own link to host his book so he can have someone to help him.
Yeah.
And he has to survive. So as for now, comrades listening and watching us, Denis really needs help. But we thought that maybe people may buy a book as a means of contributing.
Yeah.
So that's how we are, my brother.
Yeah, and that's like I said to you before we went live as well. This is something that I appreciate as well from knowing you, Kato, is that we are not in the habit of asking for handouts. We're in the habit of asking for for a hand up, for people to help uplift people. And it's a very riveting story. And I reflect on South Africa's journey with, we've got a very, very progressive constitution, and we also have a lot of refugees from, further up in Africa that seek refuge here in South Africa just because of how progressive our laws are. But pre-1994, it was not always like that. This was not always the case. We had also had very regressive laws that were very restrictive and also persecuted people, on the basis of orientation and identity. So it's a sad reality. It really is a sad reality. And I think the best, like you said, the best thing that we can do is to highlight these stories, and I think what we need to do as well is to get Denis's story on a video recording and just publish it, just to get it out there. The current generation, how they, when it comes to reading books, it's only us old people. We're the old people who still read books. The young generation, they
that's true.
Read that much. But it's a very riveting story, and it needs to be told. What do you think the solution is to change this perception that has been introduced about LGBTQ rights and homosexuals? Do you think it is it's just a simple matter of getting information to people and humanizing people who have been demonized by religion, especially, and by these governmental institutions? What do you think the ideal way of rectifying this deviation from the path will be for the African context?
Yeah, it's a good question, Dean, but it's really hard.
It's a hard question. Yeah, it's a very hard question, because I'm asking you to speculate. I'm asking you.
I'm going to give you a wide perspective, honestly, but why I said it's a bit hard because it has no clear path. Why? Because of the reason why we are what we are. Or why we are where we are. Why? Because in Africa, we have been known to be accommodative. As we have said, how come that our forefathers never killed our relatives who were homosexuals? How come? So I begin from that premise. How come that our forefathers, our ancestors, were tolerant? Now the question is, what has changed? So the moment we address that, then we know a way forward. So that's why I tell you, I begin by telling people that, look, there are myths that we must bust. Number one, homosexuality was not introduced to Africa by the colonizers. No, that's a lie. In fact, it's hate against other people that they bring bad things to us. I say no, we were having our relatives who were homosexuals. And if you want to believe it, check our history. Everywhere from South Africa to Uganda to Kenya, they have been there because it's nature. So number two, someone tells you homosexuals are being bankrolled. I say no. I wish I knew who can bankroll me to publish more books because I've been using my money to talk for homosexuals. No one has ever. And even my books don't even sell. I give them out for free. So I always say, if there's someone giving money, please give it to me because I'm here. I've been defending them for all this long. Yeah?
You must also, I have to interrupt you, sorry, man. Kato, you have to include, afterwards, just send us a link so that we can feature your book. Your books are also very important to feature.
Thank you. That would be really nice. Because honestly, apart from the NGO I was working with that sponsored my research to publish the first book, because it was part of my work in the NGO, no one has ever given me any single help to publicize what I do about homosexuals. Because as a humanist, as a human being. And as an intellectual, I think it's the right thing to do. That's why I told you that I went ahead to write my law dissertation when I was finishing my first degree in law, to write it on homosexuality. And my supervisor was so bitter that we had to quarrel, and I had to report her to the dean, and she was fired.
Yeah.
She was a Kenyan lady who was teaching us human rights law, but thought that homosexuals don't have rights. So I was like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
Because if you are teaching human rights law, but you think homosexuality is a special case, those are not rights, then something must be wrong with your head.
Yeah.
So now, once we understand what has changed, and this is what has changed, what has changed is the politics.
Yeah.
The politics has changed, and because homosexuals offer a perfect scapegoat to the laziness of our politicians, to the laziness of our leaders, to the laziness of our church leaders, they find a scapegoat. Yet it was not the same case 15, 20, 30 years ago. But today, when a president wants to get popularity like Mugabe in Zimbabwe, he must blame someone. He must say homosexuals. When a president like Museveni, who has been ruling us for 40 damn years, 4 decades, 40 years, he must find a reason to survive. Museveni has used homosexuality since 2010 to win back the Garibo. He tells them, you see, the white man is against us. They want to steal our land. They want to take over. They want to take over. I mean, even they are corrupting our children. You see, with homosexuality. Now, every politician is going to sing that. So when you ask yourself what has gone wrong, it is the politics that has gone wrong. The politicians and the religious leaders are the one fueling this because it benefits them. When a politician has nothing to offer, he's going to blame the Europeans for their trouble. It's going to blame the homosexuals for their trouble. They call it the so-called Pan-Africanism, which is actually empty. So that's how we have gone off track. The fact is that homosexuals are not the cause of our poverty. They don't cause lack of rain. They don't cause wars. They don't cause anything.
Can you imagine? Kato, can you imagine that? That what are the homosexuals doing to stop the rain? Like I want to know.
Africans. I'm an African, but that's stupidity. Stupidity of the highest degree of us Africans to think that rain, the homosexuals are causing rain not to come. That's being so lazy. So that's why I speak these things with bitterness, because until we tackle them, we are going to be hurting people who should be not hurt. People are in exile, people are dying because of this stupid politics of selfishness. Religious leaders go to their pulpit, they lack a message, but they want to find a way to rally these gullible people. How do I bring them back to church? I tell them, bring your children to church, because if you don't, there is a Kato who has an NGO, is going to promote homosexuality and is going to destroy our children. Lies. You see, so the religious leaders are using it as a rallying point. Politicians are using it as, it's politicized. That's why I said that we have weaponized homosexuality in Africa. We have used it as a weapon. Dictators are using it as a weapon to remain in power. So once we change mindset, that's why these days I'm outing articles on mindset change. Mindset. Dean, it's all about the brain. The brain is sick. Once the brain is sick, nothing's going to work. And this is the biggest problem we have as people in Africa. We have to work on our mindset. Because no one is forcing us to hate each other. It is us. I will say the problem is with us, not outside. The problem is with us. Until we fix our mindset and agree that these politicians are using us, these religious folks are using us, Africa will remain stagnant when it would have been moving forward very fast.
No, I agree with you 100%, Kato. And it's such an important thing to do. Like this work, of liberating the African mind from those shackles is very important work, you know. And the thing is, we must. What I just find especially troubling is that there's a segment of our population that they do not want to be liberated. They enjoy being enslaved by these ideas, and I don't know whether it is by choice or whether it is just by by the accident of their birth into a specific family that does that, you know. So this is very important work that we do, you know. And I wish that we could, you know, the thing is, there's so much potential. Every time I look at the continent of Africa and I look at the people of Africa, I just see potential. I see so much potential.
Yeah.
People who are destined to do great things, to build great communities, to uplift people. And then as soon as you put in this, there's a certain potent mixture of politics, religion, and corruption. And when you mix those three ingredients together, it just creates this toxic poison that prevents people from progress, you know. But I can go on and on and on about this, you know.
And we come in there. Let me come in there a moment as you go on and on. Let me just cut it a bit short, if you permit me. Now, you are wondering whether it's by choice or by... No, Dean, it's not by choice.
Yeah.
It is groupthink. It is indoctrination. You know, we grew up in families that celebrate ignorance. Without actually knowing that they're celebrating ignorance, they're promoting ignorance. Now, because most of us, and this is bad, but I have to say it, most of us were raised by very tough parents or grandparents who had their own worldviews. Now, when we went to school, we also went to religious schools. Then I went to strictly religious schools. And I come from a Catholic background. My mother up to now wears a rosary, but now she's a bit moderate. I was only lucky because my father was skeptical. My father was not that religious, but my mother was strictly Catholic. Now, but I was lucky because my father allowed me to read philosophy, to read so many things. My father actually shaped my critical thinking. But not everyone is lucky. Look at Mbana, for example, our colleague. Look at how the family has witch-hunted their own child, his own father, imprisoning him, wishing that he's given injections because he thinks he is mad for saying there's no Allah or losing Islam. So when you come from such a family, it's not your choice, because none of us says, I want to be born in Africa, or I want to be born in Europe, or black, or white, whatever. None of us decides that. We simply find ourselves where we find ourselves. Now, when you have a family which doesn't allow you to think for yourself, then you're in trouble. So our families, our environment, our schools choose for us. Choose for us. And the moment we don't say, no, I must speak for myself, you are going to also pass the same virus. I call it a virus, the God stupidity virus. You pass on the same virus to your children, and they also pass it on to their children. That's why I said, okay, if they pass it to me, I'm going to cut the tape.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not pass it to the other. Yeah. If they want, let them find it on their own. But me, I will not further this stupidity to go on. Yeah. To believe in myths, to believe in miracles, to believe in witch hunting because the Bible says so is wrong. So then, whether there's no choice where you are born or which race you are born into, you have a choice to make things better. And all of us have that choice to make things better. So it begins with us who can speak like on this platform and say, this is wrong. It must end.
Exactly. Now, Kato, I'm very inspired as well. You know, like when I see this, there's a new generation of critical thinkers that are coming into their own power and finding their voices, especially online. You'll find a lot of people, and I think the days. I mean, it's not going to happen in my lifetime or your lifetime, but the days of this institutional ignorance is numbered. The days are numbered. I know that there's a new generation that's gonna usher in a new age of critical thinkers here in Africa. I want to we understand that Denis has got a poor connection, but I just want to give him the opportunity as well. Denis, if you want to say a few words, just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Denis, the floor is yours, please. Denis, speak up.
Yeah, I see his connection is stuttering at the moment. So I mean, it's that it's the sad reality. Like when I first heard of Denis's case, there's one feeling in the world that I hate. I cannot sit with it, and that's the feeling of helplessness. When you feel powerless to do something or to enact any kind of change or help a situation. I can handle anything. I can handle pain. I can handle abuse. I can handle hunger. But that feeling of powerlessness, I can't sit with it. It kills me. It kills me. So when I first heard of this, this story of Denis's, it really moved me on a very deep level. And yesterday was the end of Pride Month here in South Africa. So we've got an entire month, like they do in most of the countries in the Western Hemisphere. We've got a whole month where it is celebrated, to be different, and queer people all over South Africa have the opportunity just to find themselves and to live their own truth, and the thing is, I look at like this case of Denis and countless other faceless, nameless Africans who suffer at the hands of this, because ultimately, let's just call it a spade a spade. It's a remnant of religious. There's some religious flavor in this whole homophobia thing. I'm not saying that all homophobes are religious, but all religious people are homophobes, more or less. So you can't have the one without the other. And I always want to say, I want to say to these people, who are so strident online, and you'll find there's a specific flavor of evangelical Christianity, especially, that's very, very anti-LGBTQ. And I just want to say to them, look, God apparently created everybody on the planet, so he created LGBTQ people because it's not a choice. If it was a choice to be gay, why don't you choose to be gay for a day, for a week, for a month? You cannot, because it's not part of your identity. And just like you cannot choose to be gay people cannot choose to be straight. It's not a conscious decision that people make. It's the way that we are wired biologically. So if you are discriminating against LGBTQ people, what you are doing in essence, you as a Christian, is you are saying that God makes mistakes because that is the way that God made them. So you can sit down and shut the fuck up and let people be who they want to be. Let them love who they want to love. They are not harming you. If anybody comes and harms your children, let the police deal with them. But this is another demon that people have created out of thin air, where they say, oh no, the LGBT is going to come for your children. You must put your children in your house and lock the door, because, you know, as soon as they see an LGBT person, they are going to also, all of a sudden, the children are going to turn weird, and you know, and it's hysteria. It's an hysterical response that people have to something that they do not understand, that they do not want to understand, because it's foreign. You know, it's such a small percentage of the population. I think it's under 10% of the population genetically have got this tendency towards LGBTQ expression. And just because it's so small and people don't see it, they think it's strange and it's weird, and oh no, you know, it's very strange how it works, you know. And I want to say to people, you know, you have to broaden your horizon. You have to encounter new things. We live in an age of technology, of interaction with people from different parts of the world. So something is going to be outside of your comfort zone. And you have to prepare yourself mentally for that, because we are adults. We are not children. We are adults. So we can prepare ourselves for experiencing people who are not like us, people who have got different perspectives, who have different ethnicities, different viewpoints, different religions, people who are not religious at all. Those people are here in the world. Your community is bigger than your village. Your community, you know, the world is bigger than your village. So your village, I understand that you're comfortable with, and you know all the people in there, but the world is much, much bigger. So we have to prepare our people for that. And I will talk about this for days, Kato. I'm very passionate about this. But yeah, let's wrap it up there. I just want to implore anybody who sees this video. We, you know, like I said, we've got the links to Denis's book. It really is it's a worthy cause. You're helping a fellow human being who has been through literal hell, who's been in on the one side and out on the other side. So if you have the means, please do yourself a favor, buy the book Between the Cross and the Rainbow, where Denis tells his story. And you know, you can get it's a very authentic, very raw bit of storytelling. So you will definitely get the lowdown on all of that there. Yeah, and like we always say, I just want to give Kato as well the opportunity. If you want to say something in closing, Kato, let's
Thank you, Dean. It's always nice sharing with you. You are a warm, very, 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 very interesting person to have in the studio. Thank you so much, Dean, and the opportunity. The guys behind the program, thank you so much. Denis is really courageous. I want to thank him openly here. He has been resilient. He has been all out. You know, some people are gay but fear to come out. Denis came out. Denis was on our Humans TV for so many shows, and it put him in trouble somehow, but he was speaking. And I want to encourage everyone, thank you so much for putting the link there. That link is for Denis's book. The name is mine because he has no account. He's a refugee. But whatever you deliver, whatever you pay, I will get an email, and I can always say this one bought because an email comes to me, and I will give him the money, because right now Denis lacks the essentials. No rent, no nothing. We have tried, yes, with a little, but it's not enough. And he has lots of challenges. So we thought that by sharing his story, which he wanted to share anyway, it would help him to raise awareness about the situation in Uganda and in Zambia, but also get him a bit of a start. So please, I want to encourage you. The book is good. It's passionate. It's raw, as Dana said. It's factual, and it's really interesting for anyone who wants to know other people's challenges to also take a leaf and learn a few things. Please buy that book and be sure to have supported Denis Nkyanungi, a great warrior, a great speaker, an advocate of human rights. Then thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dean, and everyone behind organizing this. I'm always happy and honored to be here, and I'll be back when you will be back.
Thank you so much, Kato. Thank you, guys. You know, like like we always say here on the show, stay skeptical, question everything. It is, it's better to have questions that cannot be answered than it is to have answers that cannot be questioned. So we'll leave you with that. Take care, my friends.